Say fight fans, what's good with it? We back at it. D Scott, hardcore casual MMA. You could have been anywhere else in the world, but you're here with me. I appreciate that. Today, we're gonna get into and discuss an event that happened probably about a couple weeks ago. It was middle January. Um, Dana White made the announcement for the fight Israel Adesanya versus Joe Pyfer. And I want to discuss that, get into it, and break down my opinion on this fight and the implications it can have for the future of Izzy's career. When I first got the announcement for the fight, I was elated. I was excited. I was ready to see this fight and, pat on the back for the matchmaker, Sean Shelby, and the rest of the guys. Israel Adesanya, the style bender versus Joe Body Bag Pyfer. Sounds great, right? Yep. But upon second thought, I had a little regret. I had like my heart sank. My heart kind of dropped to the floor because I in fact knew that this could be ultimately the actual fall off and descent of Israel Adesanya, the style bender as we know it, with a loss in this upcoming fight. So it's highly anticipated. But I'm gonna go through Israel's past few fights and what has happened on his decline and where I was at with it after each fight because right now, I still don't think he has fallen off. And I'm gonna tell you why. But I'm gonna go into these fights and I'm gonna break it down. It all started off with um he had the loss. The narrative started, he had the loss against Pereira. Pereira was the first person I think to TKO Israel Adesanya, and it was actually like a standing TKO. He didn't knock him out cold. He was still conscious and everything, but it was the first time that we seen Adesanya, get dropped like that while being in the UFC. Now we know that Pereira has the power to do that to anybody, any fighter in the UFC. And it did happen in their previous trilogy in kickboxing. Pereira actually did knock him out cold then. But that's when the narrative started and everybody got to speaking about is he declining? Has he fallen off? Is he not the same anymore? And from my perspective, I had no thoughts like that. But those are, some people they're wishy-washy. Fans can be fickle and back and forth. But a lot of people, you know, were saying that. And I was just like, it was just a loss. Like Pereira can do that to anybody, they're evenly matched, evenly skilled. That's what it is. So Israel Adesanya came back on the rematch against Pereira. Got the TKO, I believe, in like the third or fourth round. The hype train was back. Everybody was back riding and glazing Izzy. And me being a fan of Israel, I was also happy about that win against Pereira. And I thought that it was the second coming of Izzy, that he go on another title run and build onto his legacy and legend, just like what we're seeing Alexander Volkanovski accomplishing right now in the featherweight division. Although he didn't, get revenge against the fighter that initially took his belt, he came and beat, the next best thing, whoever was next at the top of that division. And that's what I was looking forward to from Israel. But since then, it has been a heavy descent and it's been kind of horrendous and difficult to watch as a Adesanya fan. But we had to get realistic about this thing at some point. But it all started, and I remember the very post or social media post or tweet that Israel Adesanya made, and Dricus Duplessis had gotten injured. It was supposed to be the fight between Israel and Dricus, and Israel made the post and quote unquote was like, Dricus, you're out. Sean Strickland's up next. Like calling the shots, like he does most of the time, like the champions get the benefit of doing a lot of times. And made that fight against Sean Strickland. And, as fans were all thinking it's going to be a breeze, he's going to run through Sean Strickland. And everything happened, but that it was probably one of the worst performances of Israel Adesanya's career, especially in the UFC. To date, Sean Strickland had Izzy on the back foot the entirety of the round, um, and hurt him in the first round or the second round of the fight, and was going in for the finish. So then, I think Sean Strickland won that 40 45-50. I think he won all 5 rounds in that fight, and people were bewildered. I was myself. I know fans, journalists, everybody in the sport was bewildered at what happened, and I know the brass, Dana White, they did not like that Sean Strickland was the champion of the middleweight division. So there, after that fight, my thoughts were, hmm. A little getting, it raises the question. He got hurt in that first round against Sean Strickland, and we know Sean Strickland doesn't carry a lot of power. Although Izzy did look good, he was in shape, he was moving like his normal self. I chalked it up to just stylistic matchup, and Sean Strickland poses there for a lot of different fighters. He is difficult to hit and difficult to knock out, difficult to score against, essentially. So I just felt like Sean Strickland had that, type of kryptonite um for Israel Adesanya and his style, as well as Eric Nixon, the great Eric Nixon, Sean Strickland's coach at a what is the name of that gym? Couture, uh it's MMA Couture or something like that. I'll get back to it later. But Eric Nix had great game planning, and Israel Adesanya has been a champion for so long that a lot of people have studied him. A lot of coaches have studied him, waiting for the opportunity to fight him, and they know his style. And as well, Israel Adesanya's style hasn't evolved from fight to fight much, as far as new things, new tactics, and things that we can see from the fans' perspective and those watching that he's learned that he's used to evolve his game. So I kind of just chalked it up to a bad stylistic matchup. Then after that, Strickland fought Duplessis twice. Where in the first fight, I do feel like Strickland won that first fight, but Dricus got the belt, and I think they fought again, and Dricus won, of course, and then was it that fight? Okay, the next fight for Israel Adesanya was him versus Dricus Duplessis. I can't remember off the top of my head. Let me check and see. We'll do it right now. Okay, boom. That's what I thought. Israel Adesanya fought Dricus after he beat Sean Strickland the first time before he rematched Sean Strickland for that second fight. So coming into this fight, think Izzy had took a good bit of time off at this. So it's been since 2022 or 23 since he's got a win, and he's been fighting like once a year. So he took a good bit of time off and comes back. He's supposed to be new and improved. And for the first time, Israel Adesanya put some weight on for a fight, and put some muscle mass on. Not bad weight, but he put some muscle mass on, and you could physically see how much bigger Israel Adesanya looked in this fight with Dricus Du Plessis opposed to all his previous fights. Even when Israel Adesanya went up to a light heavyweight to fight Jan Blachowicz, he didn't even put any extra weight on. He stayed the same. So, that started to raise questions in my mind. Like, why does he think he needs to add this weight? But it was good weight. He looked stronger. Healthier and everything, but it did make him a little bit slower. It did weigh on his gas tank as we seen in that fight. And he did he wasn't as quick and fast as he usually is. And it was a good fight though. Great fight. But in the fourth round, Izzy kind of started to, tire out a little bit. And as we know, Dricus is gonna fight till he can't fight anymore throughout exhaustion, fatigue, whatever. So during that fourth round, Dricus ended up catching Izzy with a shot. Didn't look like a big of a shot, but he caught Izzy and kind of, I guess he rocked Izzy a little bit, and Izzy was trying to get away from Dricus and basically like turned his back to him, got tripped, fell to his back. Dricus hopped on his back, got the guillotine, and for the first time, I think in Israel Adesanya's UFC career, he gets submitted. So we're going from the first TKO, the first time he's ever been Rock, with Sean Strickland in the beginning of that fight. And then we get the first time he gets submitted in a fight. And my thoughts were after the fight with him and Dricus Du Plessis is why did Adesanya put the weight on? Why did he switch up his style and do something different that he's never done? Although, you know, I know the intentions were good there, the concept sounded good, but if it's not broke, don't fix it. I honestly felt like he would have fought a lot better fight, and cardio would have held up better. He would have been a lot better being evasive against Dricus Du Plessis. So now we see these things are starting to add up and actually put weight on what some journalists are saying about Izzy Adesanya and that he's actually falling off and he isn't the same anymore. After this fight, I still hadn't come to terms with it, and it was still a little doubt in my mind, and I felt like he still could get back to that belt and get the title. So, the fight was made early February, early 2025. Israel Adesanya versus Nazardine Imavov. Once again, great matchmaking, highly anticipated fight. Headliner of a UFC Fight Night card. Um, when usually Israel Adesanya is, pay-per-view headline, but he isn't the champ anymore. But a great fight for his comeback. They get him back in talks of title contention, and they get work for him to work back up, you know, to who he was and his past performances, and to show that he still got it and he still has the potential to be a champion in the UFC. And I don't remember, but Imavov may have been the slight favorite in this matchup. I'm not 100% sure. I don't. quite remember, but in my mind, I just couldn't see Adesanya losing to Imavov, and I was strong in that opinion. And I don't know if it was just my a little bit of bias of me being a big fan of Adesanya. I knew how and still know how good Nazarin Imavov is to this day and the power he possesses, plus with his striking. But he really hadn't shown a lot of he's shown good performances, but not top tier performances where he's constantly finishing guys, and putting them out. So, I'm high on this one. I'm thinking Adesanya is gonna get the win. Adesanya comes out in this fight, looks good, moving well. Um, his his striking, his quickness, and everything looks normal as usual. I from my eyes, I can't see a fall off in that area. So, he comes out, does his thing, controls range, starts to, throw those calf kicks, finding his strikes with his jab and his hands, and ultimately, won the first round of that fight. Comes out in the second round of that fight, and makes a fatal mistake, a fatal flaw, switches stances right in front of Nazadim Imavov. I think he faked the jab and came over with the right overhand, caught him so clean. I mean, beautiful setup, beautiful punch. I mean, rock easy. Um, I think he kind of went unconscious for a moment, fell back on the cage. Um, Nazarin chased him to the cage. Izzy was trying to get back up, get off of the cage from his knees and hands. And Nazarin came in with a beautiful left shovel uppercut. Perfect, perfect timing, pinpoint accuracy, and finished him ground and pound, got him out of there. Um, and that was the end of that. So now after this fight, guys, I even as a fan, even as at times this is before I started my channel, you know, I had to try to be a little bit less biased in my takes and opinions, but everybody still has bias. Every human does, no, journalists or not, and it kind of weighs in their decision making sometimes. Not as much, but at times. So me being the fan that I am of Adesanya, I even started to have to concede that Izzy may not be the fighter that he once was. We may not see the style bender in the prime, in the condition, doing what he was doing early in his career. And just winning fights like it's comparative to the best middleweight, one of the best middleweights, as we know, Anderson Silva and how he went out. And that's the last thing that I want to see for Israel Adesanya. But we know how um Anderson Silva went out. He couldn't even beat the lower ranked fighters in the division 15. And I believe some unranked fighters got wins versus Anderson Silva. Uh it was hard to watch, but um the question is, will this be the case for Adesanya? Has he actually fallen off? And with the loss against Joe Pyfer, what can we expect? What will be the future of Israel Adesanya? Will he retire? I doubt that because of the competitiveness. He might be um just like Anderson Silva, like we seen with Tony Ferguson. Although Tony never was a had the belt and was a champion, it got brutal to watch how Tony Ferguson went out. And I hope that we don't see the same for Adesanya, because if he doesn't beat Pyfer, I me as a fan, it's like I probably wouldn't even want to see him come to having to fight, unranked fighters and fighters low in the division and being a stepping stone for a lot of fighters. That would be hard for me to watch as a fan. But this fight is going to be big in Adesanya's future, as well as Pyfer. This is a big fight for him. He's gonna take this serious. He's gonna put his all into it, and that's what you get when you're an ex champion. Everybody's gonna give you their best. Everybody's looking to make a statement against you. So, fight fans, let me know. Comment. Let me know your thoughts. What do you think about Israel Adesanya's decline? Do you think this is it for him? Do you think he will ever, be back at the top of the division and this is the end of the style bender as we know him? Let me know. It's D Scott, Hardcore Casual MMA. I'm out. Peace.